Hi everyone, my name is Rodriguez, and I'm presenting how to use radical social work approaches to advance policies that address racial injustice. Radical social work means tackling the root causes of problems rather than the symptoms as expressed through the circumstances and behaviors of an individual. Radical social workers strive for structural change and can do so through empowerment, collective action, partnership, structural practice, and creativity. Anti-racist policymaking principles as follows can involve redressing past injustices, meeting the needs of children and families of color, supporting the whole family, and serving all children and family in need. And this photo is an example of the Black Lives Matter protests, and I'll be using this movement as a focal point for the slideshow. The movement was founded by the three radical organizers pictured above: Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and Opal Tometi. They formed the movement in response to the acquittal of Trayvon Martin's killer, George Zimmerman, who was found guilty of killing an innocent Black teenager that was walking in the neighborhood. This movement also is an impetus for discussing intersectionality. And in short, hashtag Say Her Name became a result of this movement, which helped expand awareness and protests on the experiences of Black women in the context of police brutality and anti-Black violence. Radical social work can help in the policymaking process as follows. In agenda setting, it could be critical dialogue and developing critical awareness through transformative consciousness, using transformative innovation policy and policy formulation and setting a clear direction for change, and transformative action as a catalyst. In decision making, radical social workers can employ activism and the use of unconventional and noticeable actions to achieve results, and that can look like social movements using joint actions like protests or marches. Policies can be constructed from the bottom up, using experiences of clients who have been impacted by government policy the most, and they would be experts in further development of such policies. Community engagement with various groups and gaining different perspectives from individuals can lead others to empowerment and capacity building. Social workers are influential, and using one voice can influence other voices to join a movement, and this can create an unstoppable force of change. Racism should never be minimized as a distraction, and history shows that bigotry was deployed strategically in the past to form laws used to undermine democracy, which is why we still see professionals dismantling racially biased criminal justice system and housing discrimination laws today. Radical social workers can help in the policy implementation process through public education workshops, regularly holding conferences and webinars to inform the public on specific issues such as anti-racism policies, and using media campaigns. Sharing and creating advocacy content can educate the public and influence policymakers through educational posts, calls to action, and collaborative campaigns. As listed in the policy evaluation stage, is a simple input-output model. And in short, research inputs can be factors like research funding, team expertise, and data collected from interviews or surveys with stakeholders or demographic information of the target population. Organization context can be collaboration between groups and organizations inside and outside of government, and gathering and sharing such information can help build trust. Outputs can involve community engagement reports, policy briefs, and reviewing changes in public behavior and opinion. So, what does radical social work look like in practice in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement? In agenda setting, it could be organized protests, which can facilitate dialogue that expands awareness throughout the country and globally, raising awareness on police brutality against people of color, contacting law enforcement and open conversation of promoting social justice and racism, such as the Police and Justice Act. Policy formulation involving voter engagement and mobilization. Social workers can offer skills, perspectives, and expertise. So, influencing a small group of people to vote can influence larger groups of people to vote, which can help vote for more ethical political actors that can help facilitate these policy changes. And after the death of George Floyd in 2020, over a dozen NSAW chapters were established nationwide for how the social work community can help in the aftermath. In decision making, there's collective activism, protests against police brutality, for example, to only use necessary force. An example of this is the U.S. House of Representatives passing the bill of George Floyd, or the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act of 2020. The policy implementation stage can involve the Teaching for Black Lives Matter campaign, which are a network of educators who work to teach students about systemic racism and how to organize for justice. Twitter and Facebook became channels for social activism, and stories became trends, which became protests. Non people of color started to understand the inequalities of people of color. And policy evaluation, public value mapping, and an extent of that is holding public value forums, which aid in policy evaluation and analyzing improvements of officer training and taking into account fewer incidents of victims. The last slide will review the policy changes that resulted from the Black Lives Matter movement.